they'd be sitting at a round table, they're drinking, playing Ludo, or they're playing chess or checkers. Right. And it's like they'll keep count of each other's battles and they'll be like, you haven't even taken anything. Oh, hi, Emo Talk. It is Talia here, and I'm so happy to be back on here. It's been a while. Today we are having conversation again and just getting you guys to question some things that we've normalized in society. And today our topic is alcoholism in the African community and how much it impacts our community as a whole. Whether you are from Africa or you are from the West, you are from Asia or you're from the Middle East, alcoholism is an issue that impacts us all. And so today we want to just ask ourselves, like, why do we do it the way that we do it? And why are we allowing it to use us in to an extent? Like it is using us instead of us using it. And so today I have brought two beautiful ladies who are going to just bring a highlight to the whole issue, and I'm gonna try to not talk as much today. So I will let these girls take it on. If you could just introduce yourselves. Thank you so much again for coming on the show. Introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from and like anything you'd like to share. You don't have to tell us where you're from, but whatever you'd like to share.
All right, thank you so much, Talia, for having us here. My name is Bora. I am a full-time student. I'm also a content creator, and pretty soon I'll be going to grad school to get my degree in psychology because I do want to become a therapist. And I'll primarily be focusing on family counseling and doing youth counseling as well.
Yes, yes. We definitely need therapists in our community. What about you?
Hi, my name is Faraha, and I work as a mental health practitioner, and I'm also a filmmaker. I'm in the process right now of starting my own production company. So
Yes, Black Girl Magic. We love it. We love to see it. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for coming. I really, truly appreciate your presence today and just being able to have this conversation. It's not something we do all the time. So, yeah, the first question I'd really like to ask you guys is what is what is African people's relationship with alcohol like?
You know, that's a really interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
For me, growing up in my household, I did not actually see that because my parents don't drink, they don't believe in all that. But within the community, I would see a lot of heavy drinking. And to be honest, I don't think there's a healthy relationship with the African community and alcohol. And honestly, a lot of people are alcoholics. That's just the plain. It's just the plain honest truth. Within our community, there's a lot of alcoholics.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And like you were saying, so you said like in the community, you saw that a lot. I like to call it binge drinking. This is a word like South Africans will use a lot. You know how we have like funerals, we have like memorials, we have any holidays or any celebrations. Growing up, alcohol was always involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it was always a thing that was involved, and like I don't know, do you guys feel like binge drinking makes it worse for our people? That like because like the whole mentality of I've seen men in the community where like they'd be sitting at a round table, they're drinking, playing Ludo, or they're playing chess or checkers, and it's like they'll keep count of each other's battles and they'll be like, you haven't even taken anything.
Oh my goodness! I'm trying to remember. What was the question?
Do you feel like binge drinking makes it worse for our community? Since since we're communal people, like does binge drinking make it worse for our population than it does for other populations?
Okay, I don't think I would say that it necessarily makes it worse just for our population.
Mm-hmm.
I think what it does is that it excuses the behavior.
Mm.
Because if I see that Daniel is over here doing it, on a Saturday at 10 a.m., then why is it wrong if I also partake and participate in that?
Yeah.
You know? So it almost validates it and makes it okay, even though it's not, since it's being done in a community. And
in a community setting. Yes. Pharrell, what do you think?
I feel like with me, like going back with like how my family does with alcohol. Like I grew up the same way as Bora. Like my parents don't drink. Like no one in my family really drinks like that. Well, before no one in my family used to drink like that. My parents, like drinking was just like a no in our household. But like there was always alcohol around just for like when we have company around or if there's an event, there will be alcohol. So I feel like as a child, like sometimes when you see other people drinking, even though like when you're at home, there's like no drinking, but you see there's alcohol around and you see other people drinking, you might see it as like, oh, it's okay, like it's like you normalize it still.
Yeah.
Just by like having it around or just by seeing other people drinking. So you just see like young people just drinking because like they're used to seeing their uncles, their parents drinking.
That's a great segue. How prevalent is it today?
Very, very prevalent. It's crazy, but it's as prevalent as you have middle school kids who are now drinking. And I mean, this is only something I know because I've worked with kids and elementary kids, and so sometimes you hear their conversations that they're having among themselves, and it just blows your mind because you're like, how did you even get access to alcohol at 13, at 14? Who got it for you?
Yeah.
I feel like it's not just an issue now. I feel like it's been an issue before too. Because like I remember growing up, like there would be events going on, and then some adults will give you a drink. Like they'll let you take a sip. I remember I was at a party and one of my uncles, he was like, "Oh, try this." And that is and I'm like, okay, like I guess like let me try it. So I just feel like it's always been there, but I feel like now we see it more because it's like not even we see it more. I feel like now it's just like there's a lot of conversations. We like know what's going on. A lot of like young people, I feel like they have more trust in their like not their parents, but like siblings or like cousins. So they're more likely to like tell them like, oh yeah, I'm drinking, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it's always been there, but like now we're seeing it more. Because of also social media too.
Right.
Like before, like they weren't showing it on Snapchat and all this other stuff, but now like you actually see it. Like, oh, this kid is in high school. Like they're drinking. This kid is this and that, they're drinking.
Yeah, I think that you guys bring a good point that like it's starting at such a young age, and I think because I think that goes back to like millennials had kids really young. And so because they had kids young, they were doing stuff that they weren't supposed to do. The stress of having children made it so that even people who weren't drinking, were starting to drink, and then maybe it got out of control. And even if it didn't, their kids now were born in spaces where alcohol was available. And those kids, I remember we had an incident in our district where a kid had brought to school, what are these things? What are these things that they're smoking?
Oh my God, a vape?
A vape. Like a third grader.
No.
And the third grader was actually like selling the vape. So like he was renting the vape.
Are you serious?
Yes. He was renting the vape to other kids, and so like they could take it home for a day. And so I wondered to myself, like, did the parents realize that like the vape was gone? Like, how did this kid get a hold of a vape? And so it goes back to like people having children at a younger age. They're not fully developed themselves, and so when they're having kids, it's like the sense of maturity isn't there, and like they haven't learned like parenting styles that work, and which like I can't tell anybody how to parent, right? And like nobody learns until like they're actually doing it themselves. But I feel like the younger you are, the less prepared you are for such situations. But I just like to know like what are the impacts of excessive drinking and underage drinking?
To be honest, so first of all, like biologically speaking, your brain doesn't develop fully until you are 25. So going back on what you said, like being a young parent, you're growing up with your child. Like you're a child having a child. It
Yeah.
doesn't make it any better, right? And so some of the impacts for that is, first of all, one, you could be stifling your own growth
Oh
because
yeah.
in your brain, you know, you have axons and they're supposed to be making connections.
Look at Bora speaking biology.
No,
It's biology for me, yes.
but no, honestly speaking, like you're not allowing your brain to make those new stems and making these new connections. So you're stifling your own development. Two, also alcohol influences you in a way of like you're not, especially when you get to a point of like where you're drunk, you're blacking out, you're not even conscious of like what you're doing. Now you can start to cause harm onto other people
And yourself.
by certain things you're saying. By this is where sometimes rape is happening to people. You're not even thinking properly, right? And you just go off doing crazy things. So to me, I think the impact of that is like self harm, trauma onto other people, and so on. Honestly.
Yeah. What do you think, Fura?
No, what can you repeat the question?
So like how does like excessive drinking, especially those that are happening underage, like how does that impact personal development?
I feel like it can also impact how we deal with our own mental health. Because a lot of times, like drinking any type of drug or like any alcohol, like you can use it as a way to escape your reality. A lot of people, we see that a lot of people are using it as like a coping mechanism, and like they don't develop like the healthy ways of like dealing with like depression, anxiety, social anxiety, or like just like anything. And like we see a lot of times like people just drink, like, oh, I drink so I can be social. I drink so I can like have what is it, like liquor courage?
Yep.
Like we don't develop those like healthy ways to actually like deal with our own issues. And we just find a way to just like, okay, I feel sad. Oh, I feel stressed. Let me
It's
just
a coping
drink.
mechanism.
Yeah. And it's like just and we also see that with adults now too. Like they start drinking at a young age, and now they can barely have conversations with anybody unless like they're drunk or they don't know how to deal with their mental health. So it just becomes like this cycle. Like I'm sad, so I'll drink. I'm sad, so I'll drink. But you're not really like dealing with like why you're drinking.
Fura, you don't know where you just touched me. You know, growing up, you guys know, like I'm from a war-torn country. And a lot of Congolese people drink, okay? And they will drink not for like, they want drink just for, it's not just for fun. It's not just for like, I'm doing this at home, but like they do it so excessively that you know something is wrong.
Yeah.
And I love that you just touched the fact that this is a mental health issue to an extent because people are drinking to cope with traumas that they faced and do not want to talk about. And even if you were to tell them that like they are dealing with traumas, they will tell you you don't know what you're talking about.
I just like, oh, everyone goes through it.
Yeah.
Like, it's normal. Like, okay. Like,
yeah, but your brain is traumatized, and now you result to
it's an issue that it's normal. Like just because everyone's going through trauma doesn't mean it's okay that you're going through trauma.
And that like it's not hurting you. Like it is hurting you. Just talk about it, okay? So like, why are you drinking? Let me ask you right now, if you are a drinker, if you drink, why do you drink the way you do? Ask yourself, like, why do you drink the way you do, the amount you do, and all of this? You know, is it to have a good time with your wife and your children at home? Or are you doing it to like run away? Are you running? Are you? Anyways, another thing I wanted to bring up was what I've been seeing in our communities is that like there's a lot of DUIs. And our people think this is back home where like you will wreck somebody's car, you will, you know, cause an accident and you'll go scot-free. Not here. Like what's the impact of that? Like people having DUIs. Like, do our people understand like how bad DUIs are and how they can ruin their lives?
To be honest, I don't think they understand how bad, like, even having a DUI on your record is here in America. Like, you have to keep in mind that you're in a different country. There are different rules and regulations here. What wasn't taken so serious back home, well, you can't just get a slap on the wrist and get away with it, you know? And it's something that will affect your future here. So I feel like if people really did understand the impact of it, then they wouldn't be doing it as much. And I think they'll start to ask themselves those questions. Okay, I am drinking, but why am I drinking so often? Why am I drinking so much to the point of like I'm blacking out? I can't remember what I did. And how did I even get in this situation where I now have a DUI on my record?
Yeah.
And even with that, I feel like to a degree, people do understand because I'll be honest, I have like before, I've like drove when I was a little tipsy. But I feel like people understand like there's like danger to it. But I feel like a lot of people have this thing in their mind. They're like, I'm untouchable. Like I won't get caught. Oh, they'll just like have so much confidence in themselves and be like, no, I know I'm a good driver. Like I'll be able to do this. Or like they'll do it once and they're like, oh, that was okay. And they'll keep like pushing their limits and drink more and more. And it's still like always like, oh, I'm a good driver. Like I've driven drunk before, so I can do it again. I've driven drunk before, I can do it again. So it's just like they're always like, I don't say so much confidence, but it's just like being ignorant and don't really understand like how much like alcohol can like affect your like motor skills. They're just like, oh, I can walk, but they don't realize like when you're in the car, it's a whole different situation, and it's not even like, oh, I won't get in a car accident, but like say if there's somebody next to you that drives recklessly, like your reaction time won't be the same way as it would be
if you were sober. Yeah.
Oh,
No.
question to Farah.
Yeah.
So, do you think that it is because they're under that influence that they're even having those thoughts where it's almost like I am invincible, that liquor courage?
I feel like no. I feel like they already have that because I have some.
Oh yeah.
They already have that. Like I have a friend who who does this several times, and like even if they're not drunk, they just like have this thing like, oh, I'm unstoppable. Like they're always speeding, always making like reckless decisions, just because they're like, oh, like it didn't happen to me before, so who says it's gonna happen again?
Yeah.
So like
no, you know that I've never thought of it like that. But I know so many people in the community, like in Iowa, you have men who will like, if people are drinking at our house, you tell them like, you remember you still have to drive home, right?
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, I have not reached my limit yet. You don't know how much I can drink, or I can really drink. And I'll sit there and I'm like, come on, like you have family, you have children at home, and this is how you want to like behave. And so like I've seen it so much to where like I've had arguments with people leaving my house because my house is a hot spot. Like we don't really drink, but like people drink, and so we buy it. And you will have people leaving the house and they'll be fighting with you, like, give me my car keys back. I'm like, I'm not giving you your car keys back. Bring your way back, or you're not leaving. I'm gonna drop you off. Oh, give me my car back. Give me my car back. I own this. I'm fine. And I'm like, no, I would never be okay with myself if anything was to happen to you on the way home because you chose to be reckless. Somebody else has to hold you accountable. And so that's my other point is that like that as Africans, I think we lack this so much. We don't hold people accountable to their actions. And so because that's how most people were raised back home, they bring that behavior here. And what you were saying about being invisible and unstoppable, like our people have that where like, and this is about anything. It goes to like sexual abuse. It goes to a lot of the issues that impact us today is because our people were not held accountable to those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I was gonna ask you guys, We talked about the root causes. Unless you guys have anything else to like share on top of that. But I think mental health is really a big issue as to why people go over their limit of drinking. And so, since that is the root cause most of the time, how can we address it in our community? Like just drinking, underage drinking, and like excessive drinking. How do we go about addressing it?
To be honest, I think it starts off by having healthy conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember a time ever like being maybe around like 12, 13 where I ever had that conversation about alcohol. And it's not just about alcohol. Like there's so many conversations within our African homes, even me growing up with my parents, that we just didn't have. It's almost like there's certain expectations that's just expected for you to know, right? So it's as simple as, oh, my father doesn't expect me to be a drunk, but you don't teach me the dangers of what will happen if I do become a drunk and why you prefer me to just stay away from it and not have any type of interaction with it. So it starts with just having the healthy conversations with your kids, and then also I think at least teaching them boundaries with these things, you know. And even if you do have it in the house, make sure that you're showing them the positive examples.
I say it again for the people in the back and the people that may not understand what boundaries are.
Yeah.
Boundaries is such like a topic that like
Yeah.
our people just black out. Like we send it to the back burner. We don't.
They have like boundaries. Like that's an American thing. What's boundaries?
That is,
Yes. I'm like, no, it's a human thing.
Do we even have a word for boundaries?
Mipaka in Swahili, yeah.
Oh wow, I'm shocked. We don't have that word because they don't use that word. They don't. Well, yeah, like just teach your kids healthy boundaries with these things. Like I'm not gonna lie, with my when I get with my girls and my friends, I do drink, right? But I'm not a heavy drinker, so I usually know
You know your
limit
limit.
myself to 1 glass or 1.5 glasses, and I'm good. It's different if I'm out in a public setting, and it's completely different when I'm at home. Because when I'm out, I'm also thinking about, well, I also have to drive home. I don't want to Uber. I don't want to be drunk because I don't play with that stuff. But when I'm home, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I still try to respect myself and be like, okay, I know I'm home, but I can limit it to 2 glasses.
Yeah.
Because I'm a lightweight and I get tipsy.
Yeah.
2 glasses and I'm gone.
And y'all know I'm a Christian woman, so I'm gonna just put in there that like having boundaries is so important, and also like knowing your limit. Know your limit.
Yeah.
It is said that anything that you do excessively overboard is a sin. And me, I'm a Christian, so I'm gonna say it the way it is. It is a sin if you eat too much. It is a sin if you drink too much. It is all a sin. I'm not telling you that. I didn't come here to preach that drinking is a sin. But anything when done excessively is wrong because you go and you drink. Now you're driving in a car. There's a case right now of someone that I know that got into a car crash and they were drunk. They killed a young man under the age of 20, and the other one was injured really bad. Now, there's like the family was like sitting here and going like, may God have mercy on our son, da 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 da, all these things. And my response to the family was like, what about the other family? Like, these are the consequences of his actions. And yes, I know people will say, oh, Talia, you're being too harsh. But the reality is you killed somebody because you were being reckless.
Family lost their son.
A whole family lost a son. Like a whole daughter could have had a father that you just took out because you chose to be reckless.
I feel like everything, at least for me, everything starts in a home. And a lot of, like, at least from my experience, like, growing up, like, when we spoke about alcohol, it was like, it was a taboo. like you can't drink. If you drink, you're a bad person. You this and that. A lot of times, like kids, like when you're always telling them, don't do this, don't do this, and when
That's
they grow
what they're
up, they
gonna
want
do.
to experience it themselves. So I feel like we should also have conversations, like like realistic, like okay, alcohol can do this and this that are negative, but also like alcohol is not like there's nothing wrong with drinking, right? Like there's nothing wrong. With
Alcohol is
drinking.
not the bad guy.
It's
You
not
are the bad guy.
You have to like really look at that relationship you have with alcohol, because like it can be a good thing. Like it can like enhance like certain experiences, like when you're eating. Like there's certain foods that go with like certain wines, or if you just want to have a nice time, you can drink. But we just have to like rebuild that relationship with that. Like don't make it such a taboo where kids are like, I actually want to try it now. Like be open with it, have conversations with them. Like if a parent doesn't drink, tell your kids why you don't drink. Don't just be like, no, drinking is bad, drinking is this and that. Because Jesus turned water into wine. He didn't do that for no reason. So just rebuild that relationship and actually have real conversations with your kids. Don't treat them like they don't understand things. Just like treat them like, okay, like I don't drink because I had this experience. And they're like, you know what? Okay. But don't be like, no, don't drink, you're going to hell. And they're like, you know what? I actually want to try it. Right?
I think reinforcing the relationships and rebuilding the relationship with reinforcing like the conversations and changing how we talk about alcohol would help the situation. Is there anything else that you ladies would like to add on this topic?
Drink, but don't get drunk.
Be responsible. And like hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. Don't go to jail for drinking.
Get an Uber, a Lyft.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming today. This conversation was lovely. And if you liked this conversation, come back for more, please. Go ahead and share it with family members and anybody else that you feel like this will be helpful to. That means everybody, because everybody could use this conversation. But thank you guys. Before we leave, I'd like the ladies to tell us their social media handles. If you guys would like us to follow you, just tell us your handles and it'll be like down here. Yeah. So whatever you do on your social media and then like the handle.
Yeah, okay. So you can follow me on Instagram. My name is ICBora, I_C_Bora. And that's my handle for every other social media outlet that I have.
Thank you. What about you, Farah?
I don't have social media right now.
Good for you, sis.
Media detox for like a year now.
Oh, wow. You are an impressive young woman.
But I'll still be making my social media for my production company, so stay tuned.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Come back again for another one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.